Connecting.
Oh, are you doing a sound test?
No, I'm just getting this pulled up.
Oh, okay.
I'm just letting this play until we are all connected on everything. Hello, people. Okay.
Great.
Therapy Thursday normalizes discussing mental health topics in a safe, supportive environment because not being normal is normal.
Go, Matt. Go.
Welcome, everyone, to Therapy Thursday, our weekly installment
he was not
here.
ready at all.
I was trying to get the iPad loaded up. Now you've thrown off my smooth, silky intro, and so
Now we've thrown him off his rhythm.
I think I got it. Welcome, everyone, to Therapy Thursday, our weekly installment here at Affinity Counseling Services, where we talk about different mental health topics from a personal and professional perspective. My name is Matthew Yount, lead therapist and president here at Affinity Counseling Services.
I'm Andrea Yount, and I am the vice president at Affinity and the chairwoman of the board at A Lovely Pause.
I'm Stacy Diggs. I'm marketing director at Affinity Counseling Services and vice chair on A Lovely Pause.
And behind the camera, as always, I'm taking your questions, comments, and concerns. Kindred, and I'm the office manager of Affinity and secretary of the board for A Lovely Pause.
And we're finishing up our doubleheader today.
Doubleheader.
Yeah, we had a miss last week, so we thought we would do our due diligence and go ahead and get in for this month. So we are moving on to the topic of what exactly?
Lifestyle of a healthy mind.
Lifestyles.
That's probably good. That's good. That's enough. All right. So lifestyles of a healthy mind. Okay. Well, your mind is a product of everything that is in your environment, all the people that you're around, the activities that you do, and your physical health. So there's a lot of things that you have to focus on if you want to try to have a healthy mind.
That's why it's called a lifestyle.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
Whoa, mind blown. So let's talk about some of the things that are necessary. We'll kind of break these down into different categories. We might as well. So let's look at first routine and structure.
Oh, yes. Very much so.
Well, yeah, as someone who fought against routine and structure for a long time, I'll let you talk about it.
I think that's a big people, too, that have like a little twinge of OCD. Is that people are going to a little bit of the change, and the control. So having a structure for me, when I first started doing it, I felt like it had to be perfect.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, okay. So like, what was your resistance to wanting to start a schedule?
Responsibility and thinking that I couldn't do it and wanting to be able to do things my own way and make my own decisions and not have to be responsible at a certain time for a certain thing and just be able to do it whenever I felt like it. Like I'd always been doing it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I didn't want to change. I'm not very happy with change, especially when it comes to something so personal for me. I don't react well at all, even if it's something as ridiculous as, a chore or something. I don't like change. And I'm adaptable, but I will have a fit first. So
I'll be angry the whole time. Like, please, if I will do it, I'll do it, but just don't talk to me.
Yeah, well,
I don't want to talk
about
it.
I will hear reason after I've had my fit about it. Like, I can't hear reason until after I've had my fit. Like, changes is
I have
not
my
great
fit
for me.
internally. So if you say something to me, it's going to be externally. And I'm trying not to do that.
So
so that's the fight against it for me.
So what has something like a schedule? How has that helped you?
Oh, it has helped my anxiety a lot because the way I did it before is, I'll do it whenever I have time to do it or whatever. I also dissociate a lot. So then I'd never do it. Or I'd have every intention of doing it and I didn't do it. Also, dissociation and PTSD makes it really hard for me to be good at time management. And so I would not do a very good job of my time management along with the dissociation, and a lot of things wouldn't get done. And then I would get everything done because I'm an overachiever, but it would all be done at the last minute and I would be like, oh,
Overwhelm time. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, we're going to do all of it at once.
Yes, and so it would all be done, but I was a neurotic mess. So now that I have a schedule and I have a value system that I schedule my life by, for the most part, I've learned how to do that. But I think it's time I need to get back to that a little bit more. I always have to come back to that, and be like, okay, it's time to look at my values and see how I'm planning my weeks and my months and stuff. But having that value system that you can go back to and be like, okay, am I living my life by my values? Am I doing the things? Am I putting my time towards the things that are really important to me? And, there's definitely going to be things that you don't like that you have to value. Like, if you want to make money, you're going to have to value your work in some way, shape, or form. So you've got to make sure that you're putting that in there as well. But you have to make sure that you're balancing that out, and having those values written down where you know them is something that has helped me a lot. And then being able to plan from that lets me know that I'm going to get things done. I had to learn, though, that if I didn't get something done, it wasn't the end of the world, and I could push that over to the next day or the next week even. For me, that was the thing. It's like it wasn't perfect if I couldn't check that off the list, and I would get even more neurotic about it.
So maintaining that flexibility, but also keeping that intentional drive throughout, because it's easy to fall away from those things that we know we need to do, because there's so much to do.
Life happens. It's going to happen.
Life happens. Yeah. But you have to mostly try to be consistent in those efforts, right? And that value system, that just blew my mind, because I was like, God, there's so much to do in a day. It was because I wasn't getting anything done either.
Right.
I was between dissociating and also adulting, and I was just bouncing from one thing to another thing to another thing. I'd be doing dishes over here, I'd see this thing that needed to get put over there, so I'd go to this part over here to put that thing away, and then I'd get started in something in that room, and then I'd forget about the dishes. I'd come back to it and be like, oh, you guys know. Yeah. So the value system, though, was something that you guys were talking to me about, and it's a way that you can create a baseline for all of the things that you want to do throughout the day.
Yes. And you're not, sometimes those values are usually your second, or, either something on the bottom is going to move to the top, something's on the top is going to move to the bottom. They're going to move around.
You can reprioritize them. Yeah.
You can reprioritize your values based on what you're going through at the moment. But pretty much if it's your life, your values stay the same. And so you can always go back and touch base with those when life does get out of the way. I have to do it all the time, and I've been doing it for a long time now.
So a schedule should reflect your values.
Yes.
And the things you put in it is a way of prioritizing. This is how I want to live out my values. And it's also necessary if you're having mental health issues, because if you with the things like depression, anxiety, especially PTSD, it affects your capability to adequately understand the passage of time, how long it takes to actually get something done, and it changes your ability to adequately place the appropriate amount of weight onto a situation or a task.
I think any type of neurodivergence has that issue. I mean, that's normally seen as an ADHD type thing, but I don't have ADHD. I have ADHD tendencies, but that comes from my PTSD. I know it does. And I know where that comes from. So I think that's kind of like a neurodivergent blanket type thing, is if you're neurodivergent, you probably have some of these. It's probably highly likely you have some of these issues. Highly likely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And so with those, what a schedule can help do is, when you start filling one out, you start recognizing if you're able to get all those things done in a day or not. And then you can start to adjust it over time. And then you start to rely more on your experiences with the schedule, and not so much just trying to keep everything all in your head. And because what can happen with somebody who has those issues that come along with neurodivergence is that there can be a list of things that they have to do, and they see a list of 10 things. Now, on that list of 10 things, it may really only take 2 hours to get done. But to them, they're like, 10 things. I'll never get 10 things done. Look at all the things I have to do. This will never get done. And then we go by and take and look at it oh, okay. I've done these before. I've done these in the past. It's good. If I look at it, that's going to take 5 minutes. That one's going to take 30 minutes. And then you can add it up.
And then if you know you have, that's called executive dysfunction. And if you know you have that, then if you know that you're a person who tends to look at it, get overwhelmed by a list, then with that experience, you can start, like for me, I would start writing down like how long that's going to take me, like out beside my little list, so that I can be like, okay, this is how long that's going to take me. So I know within my planner how long I have that I can, do that, right? How long I mark it off. And so that helps me tremendously with time management, because my brain can't do that. I have to see it on paper. I have to even like write it out. Like I have to write it, see it. It's this whole thing. So like my brain wouldn't hold on to that if I didn't do all of those things. My time management was awful.
Right. Well, it's
Okay,
like
I thought I heard a child. I just wasn't.
you do.
Okay. I was like, oh no, there's a new
child as
voice.
Hearing voices.
The therapist is not crazy. I mean, okay, well.
Now you got to be careful what words you use here. We are a mental health show. No, I don't.
We're pro crazy.
Very much so. I know what you meant.
Yes.
So
We know what we mean.
So-
This is a good segue, though,
Yeah, go
for
ahead.
the values program, right?
Oh, yeah.
Because that is something that was part of what helped me so much, because you had already been doing these steps, right? And I was like a hot mess over here, not getting anything done, and like hadn't even, like, I felt like I was, you asked me about like what are your values? Like, are you living your values? And I was like, well, I feel like I'm living my values. Well, what are your values?
That's how most people respond. Yeah.
Let me think about it, right? And but then so the writing it down part was huge, because that's like actually taking it out of your the ether of your brain and putting it onto something that you can look at and strategize with.
Yes.
And if you guys haven't checked it out and these things are resonating with you, you can find it on A Lovely Pause.
Yes,
Yep.
we do have, and it's the foundation. I'm working on revamping it and making it a little bit better right now, but it is on there, the first version of it, and if you want to check it out.
Yeah, and here's the interesting thing to me. We know we're talking about a lifestyle here, so it's just a methodology by which you live and all the things that encompass that. So with your values, it's always funny to watch somebody when I say, okay, tell me what your values are. And they just look at you like a deer in the headlights. And then I finally name off some things that are values, and they'll write some things down like, oh, well, I value this, I value this, I value this. And then it's like, okay, so how much effort do you put toward that? And they're like, well, I'm not putting much effort toward that at all. And oh, well, okay, I guess I'm living a life that is separate from the value system that I say I have. So if it's separate from what you say you have, then what is actually dictating your actions? Because we all work off of a prioritized value system, whether we can articulate it or not. We are working off of one. I mean, because you look at it like this, let's just say I'm hungry. I'm at a McDonald's. Okay, I'm waiting in line. I'm getting, and so I'm giving into a value system at that point. I'm prioritizing food, but somebody comes in, something chaotic happens, and I've got to get out and run to get away from my life. I didn't just stand in line. Like, no, I'm hungry. It's no, something bad has happened. I have to get out of here. I've just prioritized my life over the need for food in that moment. And we do this on smaller scales all day long. We give our time to things that for some reason we think are important in that moment, that where we might actually be doing is prioritizing self-escape and dissociation over putting time in with our kids. Or so something is driving us to, it's hijacking our value system and driving us towards some other type of value system based lifestyle that we're not in control of.
And when you're doing that, a lot of times those are on autopilot, but like that has impacts on how you feel, how your mental health is going, right? Because
And the
you're
people
so out of
around you.
tune. Yes, yes. Like you're out of tune with like yourself and like what it really matters to you the most. And a lot of times we don't even think about it. I mean, life's busy and hectic, and you get so caught up in that grind, right? So yeah, taking that time to reflect on it's something that we don't really do as a culture as much. I think we're starting to like see how it is important now more, and people are valuing like values their mental health, emotional well-being more. But like for a long time it was just like productivity and like getting the things done, and but there's more than that.
And we all have places that help generate our value system. So, or your culture, your religion, your family, all of those things can affect your belief system. And sometimes those things are all in line. Your culture, your family, all those things are just in line with each other, and they all kind of have the same values. And then sometimes they conflict. And then you're trying to figure out, okay, which value system do I follow? Which one do I feel more loyal to? Which one am I supposed to be generating? And so dealing with the confliction in value systems that can come from working and operating in different areas of life can be very stressful for people, because I may have a value system that says one thing, but then let's say I go to or just have a partner that has a value system that's different from mine. That's automatic conflict right there that I've got to live with on a regular basis. And so that creates the conflict that creates stress, then it may pull me away from the value system that I actually want to adhere to. So we have to be careful, because all our different systems in our life may have conflicting values that they require us to display, whether or not we actually want to display them or not. So one of the things that you want to try to do is align your life around your value system, so that your friends, your spiritual practices, the things that you do in life, they all reflect a value system of yours. So, I work a lot off of the idea of what I look at as a Christian value system of trying to practice love and acceptance and openness and helping and kindness and things like that. And so I try to make sure those things are present in my life. No matter what I'm doing, I'm reflecting those things. So that way they don't feel conflicting for me. If I'm not operating in that way, if I have to operate differently to be in a place, I don't want to be in that place. I don't want to have to be something that doesn't match that value system, or it will make me feel like I'm being disingenuous. It will make me feel down, stressed, hurt. And so you can find a value system that works for you, and then you generate that through all the other systems within your life, which may mean removing some systems and finding okay, that doesn't fit my value system. I got to get rid of that because it's just making me feel like a different person.
Or things that maybe used to fit, right? Like you had these systems that maybe you grew up with, right? That were like, made sense when you were younger. But then as you grow and evolve and change, you're like, oh, this doesn't fit me anymore. Like I'm not the same person that I used to be. And that's a huge thing, like breaking down those like archetypes that like you have established as being part of your core self. Those can be very challenging.
Absolutely.
To start thinking on and changing.
Yeah, because our belief systems are like layers, and the bottom layers are our foundations. And so the things that we experience early in life help us develop belief systems that will affect us throughout our entire life, even if we get to the age of 40, 50, 60 and look back and go, I don't believe any of those old belief systems, but they're still at my foundation. They're still what's holding everything up. And under enough stress, you regress down to those old value systems again. And then you have to fight against yourself to pull yourself out of that and start operating up at a higher level again to where you've developed new and better beliefs that fit your environment. So it's so hard because the base value systems you have, you really didn't help create. Other people helped create them for you because you were so young and impressionable and naive and underdeveloped that you didn't know how to develop a value system of your own. So you had basically inherited one that starts off as your base operating system, and then everything else is you developing on top of an operating system. So some of us got really cool operating systems, and other people got Windows 2000 and okay, I guess I gotta put all the new stuff on top of that. Well, it's going to be laggy. and it's going to be buggy. But
I think Windows 2000 is being nice.
some people are still working off DOS, or the old floppy disk and DOS prompts.
Yes, I would say that's probably more accurate.
If you know anything about computers, don't judge me. I'm just working off of the knowledge that I have. It's not that great.
It makes sense to me.
It works. It works for most of us.
Y'all said floppy. I was like,
The old floppy disks in school.
disks.
Yes, I remember those. So some of us
We
are working
old.
with that. But but now to develop those better belief systems and trying to stay in them, the lifestyle has to fit. So some of the other things that you can do, you have to have some forms of self-care. I work my butt off, but I still have times for self-care. And there's times I don't want to do it.
There's times I'm mad he's doing it and he's not at home. But then if he doesn't do it, I'm like, please go.
Yeah, because you don't like what I turn into when the
Yes.
aggression is not properly
Yes,
dealt
it's a
with.
sacrifice that I make
Yes.
for the betterment of the house.
Yes, because there are things that I need to do
Yeah.
to manage the aggression that I have. And I would just rather do them in ways that are socially acceptable and appropriate rather than ways that are not.
Yes, and it goes both ways. I do things too. I make time for things that make me feel better.
Yeah, and you've got to. If you don't have some form of enjoyment, self-care, things that make you get in touch with your own mind and your own body and just your own sense of enjoyment. Because I want to try to facilitate a sense of enjoyment in most things that I do. I love working with people. I may be tired. I may be like, okay, I'm barely staying awake right now. But in those moments, I'm still enjoying working with the person. And I don't keep clients I don't enjoy working with. And it's usually not anything about them personally. It's just the ones I don't enjoy working with are the ones that are not trying, or they're just trying to manipulate something, or they're here for the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
But so I don't keep those very long. I want to try to find enjoyment, a sense of purpose in almost anything that I'm doing. That way it doesn't feel like I'm actually having to do something detrimental. Even though it makes me tired and wears me out and drains my energy, it still has meaning and purpose to it. So I don't dislike it. I like it. And it fits my value system. It's just a little draining, so I got to do other things to help build myself back up again and give myself that energy and that self-care to get away from it.
purpose.
Yeah.
Man,
Yep.
having something that you're like, what is that book? The Purpose-Driven
Life,
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot to be said for that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, to feel like you're doing something and it's not just like this 9 to 5 that doesn't mean anything. I mean, I know we all have to like pay our bills and stuff, and we got to do what we got to do. But like when you can insert some purpose into that, even if it's just like, I'm gonna go to my job today and I'm gonna make my coworkers' lives a little brighter from
sure.
my presence or whatever. You know, like it. Even if you're just doing like computer work, you can still like find a little way
or
to
volunteer.
insert.
I mean, you can volunteer to Lovely Paws.
Yes,
So-
you can.
And here's the other thing on that. We've been told a lot that you need to just find something that you love and then you'll never really be working. And now there is something true to that.
Yeah.
But I also work with some people who they don't have much of a skill set. That's marketable. You know, so they got things they're good at. They're just not marketable skill sets for this area. They don't have an education that is going to get them a higher level. They don't have trade skills or anything like that. So they're going to be working just your standard 9 to 5 that doesn't have a lot of meaning and purpose in it. And what I try to tell those people is your job does not have to be your meaning and purpose. Your job just may be the thing that helps support your meaning and purpose.
Yeah.
You like to really get out in nature and you like to be around your friends, then your job can help support that. If you really like to do things like play music, or you want to like start your own YouTube channel, or whatever you want to do, your job can just be a means of supporting your purpose. And so you want to try to find a job that you don't hate, but you just also look at it as like, yeah, I'm going to go to it because at the end of the day, the paycheck does help me get to the things that I really enjoy. And maybe one day I can turn the things I enjoy into something that's profitable, but for right now, I'm just going to enjoy the things that I can do. And then I'll just do this job as a means of getting the money to do those things that I enjoy. And so you don't have to look at just finding something that you love that also pays you. It's just a benefit. So there's the idea of building up your lifestyle around your values. Then your physical health. That's a huge part of your lifestyle. So, like, we talk about this quite a bit, but I think it always bears repeating for people, especially newer people that listen to us. What happens if you don't take care of your physical health for somebody that has trauma or like PTSD issues?
Well, because I have complex trauma, it's also hereditary, in which generational trauma. If you're a woman, you have a higher chance of having an autoimmune disorder. So I have that. I have to deal with that.
From the trauma.
From the trauma. But also the trauma itself. Well, if you notice how I'm sitting today, Matt remarked earlier, and I sit like this a lot, it's because my cortisol is high today, and I'm sitting like this. And my body just stays tight and tense and in lock and load mode all the time, and like my muscles hurt from that all the time. There are certain areas within my body that I hold more of that tension. My shoulders and my neck and upper back are definitely one of them. My hips are another. And that is simply just from trauma. It's just from me holding those emotions, those symptoms that I'm feeling and trying not to let them out. That's what that's from. It's just from me holding all of that in and trying to be a normal functioning person, and it creates pain, like chronic pain. And there have been times before I started doing like eating better, working out, doing yoga as much, before I started doing that, where I would be in bed for days, all day long, not being able to even hardly open my eyes. I wouldn't be able to move. I wouldn't be able to talk to my kids. I wouldn't be able to cook. Matt would have to take care of me. I mean, it was bad. And so when I wasn't taking care of my physical health, I was severely, there were times that I couldn't even function.
And for somebody who has trauma, it's a domino effect a lot of times.
Yes.
Because, like for you, there's times where we've got you firing on all cylinders, your cortisol levels are staying good, and you actually use a service. What's it called?
It's called Vessel.
Vessel, yeah. And it allows you to test certain hormone levels and vitamin levels in your body.
I do it once a week.
Yeah, at home. Yeah. And that's a really good resource if you're curious where your levels are at, because that helps us kind of monitor where we really pay attention to your cortisol. Cortisol is the stress hormone. And we pay attention to that because that's an indicator that things are going to get bad for you. And we've got to do things that help you get out of that.
Start gritting my teeth. Like right now, I'm trying to, this whole time I've been sitting here, I've been trying to actively remember to loosen my jaws, loosen my shoulder. Because it's not just sitting here and just it's like a clinch.
So the domino effect that I've noticed for you, and I think you've noticed it too, is that you may be going along doing great. Your diet's good. You're exercising. You're doing yoga. There's not a lot of stress in your life, and your cortisol levels are low, or they barely fluctuate, and things are going good. Then one thing can happen that puts you into a stress state, or the wrong food gets put in front of you, and it's like, hey, I've been doing great. It's Mother's Day or whatever. And it's like, I can eat that.
That actually happened.
Happened, yes.
Mother's Day, and I'm still trying to.
You're still trying to recover from that.
Yeah.
From eating one thing that affected your body negatively, it has cascaded.
It's like giving a heroin addict just a little bit of heroin.
Yeah.
That's what it's like.
And it's like, not only that, it's like sweet heroin delivered by grandma, who's like, come on, I got you some heroin.
Was it the turtle cake?
Heroin with love.
Yeah. No, it's apple dumplings, right? In that one.
Yeah,
I think that's what it was. Yeah.
I didn't have apple dumplings.
No, it was something.
It was something.
It was cake or something. I don't know what it was. But you and I both were like, you can probably do it. You've been doing good lately.
And
You've
if he
been
gives me
fine.
permission, I'm like, okay.
Yeah, it's like it's
My
Mother's
willpower goes
Day,
out the
and I
window.
should know better.
Not that I need his permission, but if he says it's okay, I'm like, oh.
Yeah, because I'm usually like your conscience in your conscience in those circumstances. I'm your Jiminy Cricket, just
Jiminy Cricket said it's okay this one time.
yeah. Go ahead and lie. Yeah, you've been doing good lately, and so you start there, and then it's like now your body goes into carb craving mode, and then you start getting into things
That's
like
where my Hashimoto's that causes that.
Yeah, and so then your body's like, well, okay, I can't eat gluten, but I'll eat everything else with carbs. And then you start cramming carbs there, and you're like, but it's not gluten. And so then it's like the demon starts taking over. That's like, I've got to have carbs.
The gluten
It really is
demon.
like
Yeah.
a demon. It really is. It's like
So then your body starts hurting. Then your cortisol levels raise. Your mind starts thinking more negatively. You start responding to situations worse, and you start getting in pain more.
I still start talking down to myself because I feel like because I have no willpower. So it's just like you said, it's just like a domino effect. So whatever that is for you,
Yeah, there's a lot
it's
of
a domino
people.
effect.
There's-
Perfection
so-
also does that to me.
Yep. Understand the domino effect. You need to understand your own ways that your dominoes fall to get you into the bad spots that you're in. And it really takes somebody with an outside perspective a lot of times to be able to help see that.
for sure.
Because it's hard to see your own domino effect.
Yeah, but we also have trackers on a Lovely Pause that
Oh,
will help
yeah.
you be able to track those things so that you can look at a legit thing in front of you to see all that data that you're taking in. And
Yep.
like
See
you can
the
just stick in
patterns.
your planner, and that way you can see the planner or see the planner, see the patterns yourself, and figure them out so that you can fix them.
Yep, absolutely. So there's a lot that could go into developing a healthy lifestyle, but essentially it's a lot about little changes over time, paying attention, and looking at the areas in your life that help create these domino effects. And so therapy can be really good for that. And if that's something that you think that we could help with, we'd be happy to assist. You can contact us at Affinity Counseling Services, AFFINITY, on Facebook, or you can reach out to us by phone, 870-324-5122. Or for Missouri, you can contact us at 573-840-0440, or sign up at counselingwithaffinity.com.
You can sign up to volunteer at alovelypause.com. We are having a fundraiser on June 5th at 3 p.m. at Forest Roots. So if you are in the area and want to play some little poker for a cause, then we also have bingo and silent auction. So
Yep.
if you'd like to come by, it's at Forest Roots in Hockham,
Sweet.
June 5th.
All right.
Sweet.
Sweet. All right. Thank you very much for joining us. We appreciate it. And we will see you next week. What are we starting next week?
Next week, PTSD Awareness Month for June.
Cool.
And next week, we are talking about what is trauma.
Great.
Nice.
See you then. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.